Hey guys, and welcome back. I have been doing a ton of work here in the garden over this last week, but unfortunately the spring winds, the terrible dreaded spring winds have started, which makes recording out here in the springtime, which is the time I'm most in the garden, really difficult. But I've been catching some footage, which I'll play as B-roll and explain what I'm doing. And then today we are going to go through the garden so you guys can see what I've got left growing, what I've taken out, and I also need to show you the seeds that I've started and my garden tower. So without further ado, let's get into what I did this morning. It's about noon today. I got out here in the yard at about 8 a.m. and started doing the most dangerous job on my property, which is trimming the mesquite bushes. And I say bush, it will eventually become a tree, but I say bush because this particular mesquite tree grew in a bush-like manner. You guys are unaware. I think I've gone over this before in my mesquite tree video, which I highly recommend you seeing. It's a very popular video, very informative. But if you cut baby mesquite plants off at the head, like accidentally with a mower or something, and you get them down to the roots, they will go from being a single-stemmed manageable tree to just this huge bush-like thing with spikes everywhere, and it's terrible. And I really do love mesquite. I think it's a beautiful tree, but I'm really trying to get this one to grow more up and not out. So every year I come in here and I get in there as deep as I can with pruners. This thing is extremely pokey and very dangerous. In fact, the only way to get rid of the branches, because they're just filled with spikes, is to burn them. But what I like to do, I own the ditch bank that's part of my property. The street is actually an easement, but I own the ditch bank across the front of my property. So I just dump the mesquite branches there and they'll decompose over time. No one walks there. It's all full of brush and weeds. But I trimmed that one. I got a couple of different, I have mesquites come up all over my property all the time. They self-seed very readily. They are a pioneer plant in my area. So I do have to manage that and remove the ones that I don't want every year when they come up. I do want to get this property situated with a bunch of mesquite trees because they're pioneer plants, and I'm trying to get some dang grass to grow on this desert wasteland I have. But it's a slow process. So that's what I gotta do every year in the spring. I go back and I trim that mesquite bush back, so hopefully it'll grow into at least a double trunked tree one day. And then I got to work on some more beds in this garden. I am slowly and surely getting all of the beds re-amended and ready for my spring crops, though I am still growing some things, which I'll show you guys in a little garden tour in a second. But today I just took out a bunch of the broccolis that are in the in-ground garden, re-amended that soil, put new soil down, and mulched it. So I'm working on that in-ground garden slowly as well. But I decided not to keep all of my broccoli plants. I only want a couple of them for flowering so that I can save the seeds this year. The rest, I really just need to get that ground re-amended. I don't mind losing them. They're actually all going to seed anyways, so it was better that I harvest the broccoli that I could before it went to flower and was inedible. And so that's what I did, and the chickens got the rest of the plants. And then last, I did some uppotting of some tomatoes. I have seeded most all of the plants I'm going to be growing this year, except for the ones that I'll do later or in the ground directly, like squash, cucumbers. Those kind of plants don't like to be transplanted, although I am going to do some seeding in a couple of weeks. But we'll get to that later. But I needed to up-pot some of these tomato plants, and I've shown you guys this before. I do the multi-sow method, so I put several seeds in one small pot, and then when it's time for them to get their own pot, they all separate rather easily from wet soil, and it doesn't damage. You do your best not to damage the plants or the root system, but it's very, very easy to do and saves you time and money on soil and space if you are limited in that. And I have not gotten all of my plants up-potted yet. They're slowly but surely growing large enough that I can do it. but I did end up planting my seeds, sowing my seeds in stages because I just didn't get it all done in one day. But that's fine. I'm very excited. It's been a very warm false spring so far, so it's getting me a little excited that the garden may get to start early this year. But let's show you what I've done. And all of the work that I've put in these past couple weeks working on this garden in this beautiful weather. So I have gotten this new bed completely mulched. I even laid down this morning. I didn't get the other bed done, and I'm definitely gonna have to go back to Lowe's and get more drip hose, this one that the water actually comes out of, because I only got one 50-foot pack, which I thought would last both of these beds. It did not, which is fine. I'm gonna have to go back anyways for more soil, which is a huge bummer because I was hoping to cap my soil purchasing limit to $300 this year, about 30 bags, and it's gonna be more than that. Not much more, but I am gonna have to go back for like 10 bags, so another full load. That's what I've been doing every time I go, is getting around 10 bags. But that's okay. These are the only 2 beds I'm doing this year, and it will be worth it. I used 10 bags in here, and it was not enough. I will need probably about 4 more. And then, of course, I'll still need soil for all of these beds that I have not amended yet, because I'm still growing food in most of these. But I'm pretty sure 10 bags will do it, and then we'll be done. And it'll be time to plant. Eee. This is why you must make your own compost, folks. Of course, with the amount of compost I would need to amend this entire garden, I don't think I could make that much with the resources I have on this property. But nonetheless, having any would help, and I had a major failure in taking care of my compost this last winter, which I talked about. So I don't have any homemade compost to use to top off my beds this year, and I have to buy all of my soil, which really stinks because the soil that I buy isn't that good either. Here in the beds with these scraggly looking broccoli plants, I have already remulched and amended this bed, although the chickens did get in here one time and they kind of made a mess of it. But I am leaving several plants, look at these beautiful flowers, to go to flower. First off, for the bees, because my poor bees don't have any food right now. And secondly, because I would like to save myself some broccoli seed this year. I have never saved broccoli or cauliflower seed before, and I have both broccoli and cauliflower in my garden going to flower right now. I'm very excited, and most of the plants, in fact, all of the plants that the broccoli and cauliflower I have going to seed are imperial broccoli and Rober cauliflower, which were basically my most successful, maybe even only successful in the case of cauliflower, plants that I had to harvest this year. And these are my tried and true favorites too. I've mentioned imperial broccoli before, as well as Rober cauliflower. So 3 years of success with these plants. I am absolutely going to save some seeds, and hopefully we won't have to buy broccoli or cauliflower ever again. I did take the rest of my Brussels sprouts out. I just did not have very good success with them this year, which makes it the second year in a row I have not done well with Brussels sprouts, but we'll give it a go again next year, maybe plant them a little earlier. And this guy is a rutabaga that I just left in the ground. He can continue to grow. I didn't eat as much rutabaga as I wanted to this year. I just either spaced on planting it or planted it and it didn't come up. I don't remember, but I'm definitely gonna change that next year because I missed it this winter. Here in this bed, the chickens have just decimated this poor bed over and over. If you can, I don't know if I can get the angle for you guys. There's just rolling hills of soil and mulch all throughout here, and it's pretty bad. They've scratched through a lot of it, but they didn't damage these onions and leeks here. I'm pretty sure, actually, I think these are all onions. I don't think I had any surviving leeks come up this year, which was pretty disappointing. I was very excited about leeks. That's fine. I've got more onions coming up, and then most of this is going to be cabbage. I believe it's the Ancuisan cabbage. I don't know how to pronounce that. Although it was planted too late last fall and it didn't get a chance to get big before the cold really set in, it is kind of growing now. I am getting much smaller heads than I should be, but they're still heads, and I can still harvest a couple of them and go inside and make coleslaw or something, which I have been doing. So that's why I haven't taken the cabbage out. Now my unsuccessful cauliflower that got frozen, all of that has come out because the cauliflower is inedible once it freezes. But this cabbage is perfectly good, and the heads are growing a little bit. Let me show you. See, this guy, he's ugly. I know he's ugly, but he's still food. And deep down in here, beneath all this dirt, there's a tiny little head, and that will continue to get bigger. And so I'm just leaving these in and harvesting them. I actually took this head the other day to make some coleslaw. But over here in this bed, I had a bunch of just cauliflower that didn't grow over the winter and then froze. So I took that out, and I'm leaving these little cabbages. I'll get a couple tiny ones out of here but I'll probably come in and amend this bed before I ever harvest these guys, because there's a bunch of empty space. I can work around the current plants. And I'm gonna need to work around the current plants because I've got several beds taken up by garlic and onion that I will have to amend and work around as I harvest, because it's gonna happen after it's time for me to plant out my crops. That's fine. I got 2 extra beds to use this year. Yay! I believe I caught it on video. I did catch it on video, where I came in and amended and mulched this bed, which has chives in it. These are chives. And then mostly this entire thing was taken up by mint last year. I was digging around in here the other day because when I originally mulched this bed, there was some small mint greening and coming up because it's getting warmer. And I didn't see any when I checked under here, and I'm worried that I might have buried it too deep. Oh, you guys are gonna fall with this wind. I'm worried I might have buried it with too much soil. I didn't think it'd be a problem. Maybe it'll just take a while to come back up. But mint is very persistent. I'm sure I did not kill it, and it will come up. It just might take a little longer to get to the surface. See, look at this guy. That's a decent, I mean, it's not a very big cabbage, but it's usable. This is such a pretty thing of cauliflower. So here I've completed 1, 2.5 rows of re-amending the in-ground garden. And out here, these are also cabbages I didn't take. They're starting to grow now. They actually look a lot healthier than the ones in the bed over there, surprisingly. But I'm gonna continue to let these grow and just harvest them as I need them. I will have to keep an eye on them though, because it is getting pretty warm. And if I recall, these were really cold hardy cabbages. That's why I put them in the in-ground garden. So that's most likely meaning that they're also not going to tolerate extreme heat before they get gross or try and go to seed. So I don't want to lose the harvest, but I also want to get these as big as possible so I can get the most cabbage out of them. I did wait all winter for these guys. And I have not shown you my Frankenstein cabbage in a while. So I ended up not harvesting the head to this guy. He got a little frost damage, as you can see here, and the top of this head, it's actually started expanding. He might go to seed. So I didn't want to eat him, and now it's just, he's huge and crazy, and he's got little baby heads forming over here, and I just want to see what happens to this guy. I'm assuming he's going to seed because this keeps opening up more and more. I don't know. I've never had cabbage go to seed. I've never really successfully grown cabbage to the extent that I did this year, so that's really nice. But we'll see. That would be cool if I got some seeds from this cabbage as well. I don't even know what kind it is, but it's survived long enough. So I think it deserves some seed saving. So this is a broccoli plant that never really gave me a good head of broccoli. It just kind of shot out some small little florets and then went to seed very quickly. I will not be saving seeds from this particular plant because of that, because it didn't produce me a big giant head. But I did want to leave the flowers out because it was the first to have flowers since it was the first to bolt, and the pollinators are loving it. So I'm very, very happy. This is the first flower I have in my garden with pollen for the pollinators to eat. So hopefully that will bring my bees here. I haven't seen many bees over here in the garden. I've seen a lot of cabbage moths, which is not good, but at least they're eating. But hopefully soon all of these broccoli that I have will be in full bloom and it will be gorgeous and yellow and beautiful. Mostly the only thing I'm harvesting from right now, besides various small cabbages, are going to be my root vegetables, which have lasted me all winter long. As well as, because I just threw a bunch of seeds down here, the seeds didn't germinate when it was too cold, but as soon as it started warming up again, as long as I consistently water the middle of this bed, like just make sure the whole bed is watered, I get random germination of radishes and beets and things that seeds were just waiting for the right temperatures to come out. I'm also getting a few carrots. I've been pulling them out. I really sowed these too densely and they didn't have enough room or nutrients to grow very big because they're just so close together. But that's fine. This was my first successful carrot year and I'm very happy with what I've gotten. We don't really use a whole lot of carrots unless I use them in soups and stews and stuff, but not a whole lot of dishes with carrots unless they're part of a mirepoix base or something. But that's been great because I'll just come out and grab a couple small ones, take them in, and it's perfect for what I need. And I actually need some tonight because I'm making chicken and rice soup, so let's grab some carrots. It's one of my favorite things. It's one of Grady's favorite things too. When I could first start pulling out carrots, I got Grady out here and he was so excited. He's waited all year to pull carrots up. It was really fun. Here are some leeks that didn't grow very big in this cold weather, but hopefully they'll start to pick up now and I can get some leeks before the full heat of the summer comes. See, it's a tiny little one. Sometimes I get lucky and I pull out a big one. Sometimes I don't. Oh, this is a big one. Woohoo! Hooray! The chickens have been in this bed so many times. I'm just happy the carrots lived. One of these should be big. Maybe. There we go. Nice one. I mean, they're not big by store standards, but I've surely never grown anything that great. Awesome. Probably need like a couple more. There's a good one. Take that one too. So I've got these. This should be good for my soup. I don't want it to be too much carrot. What I didn't get this year, and I was really disappointed, was the, is it called Chinese celery? It's the celery that's like a cut and come again. I know one of them was called the Amsterdam celery. Either way, I planted 2 types of the cut and come again celery I was really hoping would do well. It never got past its seedling stage. They're still here. They're still growing. I can show you one right now, but they did not give me any celery. Here's one of them, and it doesn't look like it. It's nothing. I've got no celery stalks here. And it started to pick up in growth since it's gotten warmer, but I know very quickly it's going to be too hot for these guys to thrive. And I'm not sure why I had such a problem. I've never been able to grow celery, but we'll give it another go. Obviously, I'm not going to give up after one season. In fact, most of my new varieties that I tried out for the first time this year didn't do very well, which stinks. But it happens when you're exploring new varieties and you're trying to figure out what works in your extreme climate. Failure's gonna happen, and I'm okay with it. Still got a lot of food. So I'm about done out here. I'm a little tired of being out here, been out here all day. So let's go inside and look at my seedlings, and let's check out the garden tower. So here we are in the grow room. Look at all these seedlings. So this tray is mostly all separated and mostly all flowers. I've got chamomile, dill, calendula, lots of zinnias of various kinds, and marigolds in the back. Then here I've got tomatoes and peppers in various stages of separation. Here's some tomatillos. But I have not separated out my peppers yet. I did start them later than my tomatoes, and I haven't separated out all of my tomatoes. I like to separate them out when they're about this size, when they have 2 good true leaves on them, so I know that they're ready to go and full of life. So if they're pretty small, then I don't want to separate them out and risk them being unhealthy. Down here is a tray I also just separated various tomatoes. I've got 2 rows of eggplants here, which is honestly a little bold because I don't like eggplant currently. I just don't know how to cook with it, and I'm trying it out for the first time, and I managed to seed 8 of them. So I'm not putting 8 in my garden. I'll definitely have to give some away, but I don't know anyone who eats eggplant. I always start too many seeds. And my tower is doing wonderfully. We've been eating a bunch of salads lately and picking off as much as possible. We just can't keep up. There is so much to choose from. So much back here. You guys can see back here. On all sides. There's just food for days. Now over here I've got a ton of basil. This is Genovese basil. This is Thai basil, I believe. I have parsley. Oh, here, parsley. As well as cilantro, yeah. Cilantro. I've got some sage somewhere in here. This is mustard. I believe it's called Mizuna red mustard. Kale, arugula. I don't know the names of all these lettuces, if I'm going to be honest. I do know one because it's my favorite. It's called Freckles lettuce. Get you a good leaf here. It has little brown spots like freckles. Isn't that adorable? The garden tower has been very hands-off this year on purpose. I did set the pump timer to turn off at night, so I'm using less electricity. That has not harmed the plants to my knowledge at all. They're all growing fine. They did grow a little bit slower than they did last year. But that could also be due to that I'm using less nutrients than I did last year. I definitely over-fertilized the water and ended up with some burning on some of the plant leaves. That has not happened to me this year. And overall, it's just been very easy. As you can see, I have just a ton of food. Well, that is it, guys. I'm going to continue plugging away at separating out these seedlings, taking care of them, and getting them ready for transplant. In about a month. I can't believe it's less than a month away. I'm a little behind this year. Not in any measurable way, maybe like a week or 2, which is fine because I've definitely waited too long to pot these plants out sometimes because of a late freeze. So I would rather be a little on the late side than on the early side. It's just less stress. I've also got some upcoming plans. I'm going to hatch out more laying hens this spring, as well as put in an order of Cornish cross meat birds. We thought we were going to be able to make it until the fall, until our fall round of meat birds with the chicken that we have, and I just don't think that's going to happen. So we're going to do a small round of meat birds this spring, as well as one in the fall that me and my mom split, and some laying hens, because I want more. But that'll be in upcoming episodes, and for now, we are focused on the garden, and I'm very excited to plant the garden with you guys this year. It's gonna be so much food. But thank you guys for joining me, and I will catch you on the next one.